All right, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a stack of sources, articles, records, some really fascinating tidbits to give you the absolute essentials, the key takeaways. It's your shortcut to getting up to speed on, well, an incredible story from 1990s Japanese horse racing. We're talking about Hishi Amazon. They called her the fierce queen of the 90s. Quite a title, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a story that really shifted things, changed perceptions about what a mare could do in Japan back then. Hishi Amazon, she was just this powerhouse, a real force of nature on the track. And she didn't just, run against the colt. She seemed to relish it, took them head on.
Yeah, that bold style. It earned her so much respect, didn't just win races. So our mission here is to figure out why she was such a big deal, what made her tick. We've got some great details, and here's a fun one to start. Apparently, her original name got rejected.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Kind of sets the stage for her unusual path, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so let's dive into her origins, the Queen's early days. She was born in 1991.
And her pedigree. Wow. Pretty impressive stuff. Her dad was Theatrical, a champion turf horse in America, known for class.
Right, stamina too. And the dam, Katie's, who's a brilliant Irish miler, won the Irish 1,000 Guineas, the Coronation Stakes.
So basically bred for greatness, like right from the start, the highest level.
Exactly. Huge expectations come with that kind of lineage.
Yeah.
But Hishi Amazon showed promise early on.
Yeah.
And that name story, it's quite interesting. They wanted to call her Hishi Amazon.
That was it's like plural.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
But the JRA, the Japan Racing Association, they said no, rejected it. So her team just sort of shortened it to Amazon.
And looking back, it fits perfectly, right? So
Yeah.
powerful.
Definitely a fitting name. So a little bureaucratic bump, but it kind of defined her from the get-go. Her debut was September 93, on dirt, actually, at Napayama Racecourse. She didn't just win, she won easily. That first hint of something special.
A whisper of what was to come. Yeah, she placed second in her next two starts, but then came the big announcement. The Hanshin Sansai Himba Stakes. That's now called the Hanshin Juvenile Fillies, for anyone wondering.
Right, and she didn't just win that one.
Oh, no. She absolutely demolished the field. That late burst of speed she became known for. She pulled away by 5 lengths, and broke the course record.
Wow, okay, that's a statement.
Totally. That sealed it. Best 2-year-old filly, no question. And it was a huge moment for her jockey, too. E.G. Nakadet, his first ever G1 win.
G1 Group 1, the top level. So after a debut like that, record time, G1 win as a 2-year-old. The pressure must have been immense heading into her 3-year-old season.
Oh, completely. Everyone's watching. Every race is under the microscope. And interestingly, she actually started that season with an upset. Got beaten by Biko Pegasus.
Really? After such dominance?
Yeah, a bit of a surprise. Tested her early, But she bounced right back, won the Queen Cup next. Maybe not her most convincing win ever, but she showed that toughness, that resilience.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, connecting the dots. Because she was foreign bred, right? From America via Ireland. That meant, back then, she couldn't run in the Japanese classics. Satsuki Show, the Derby, the big ones for Japanese bred horses.
Exactly, a massive hurdle. And the NHK Mile Cup, which is a big G1 mile race now, didn't even exist yet. So her team, they had to think outside the box, couldn't follow the standard path for a top horse in Japan.
Which maybe forced her to become even better, more versatile.
You could argue that, yeah. It definitely shaped her career differently, made her tougher, maybe. We saw that versatility when she dropped back in distance to win the Crystal Cup. That's a 1,200-meter sprint. And again, unleashed that trademark late kick, just flew home, proved her class over different trips.
And from that point, she just hit this incredible stride, didn't she? Racked up win after win, 6 straight graded stakes victories, which you mentioned equaled a record at the time for consecutive wins at that level.
That's right. Just dominant. And then she capped it off by winning her second G1, the Queen Elizabeth II Cup, beat the other fillies easily.
But then, her team did something really ambitious.
They really did. The Arima Kinen. End of the year, Japan's massive grand finale race. It's fan-voted, brings all the stars together, and crucially, it's against the colts.
Taking on the boys. That wasn't common for a filly back then, was it?
Not at the absolute highest level, no. It was a very bold move, got everyone talking.
And what a race to do it in. The Arima Kinen that year, legendary. The headliner was the Triple Crown winner, Narita Bryan. Huge star, massive favorite.
Absolutely. Generational talent. Everyone expected him to win. And Hishi Amazon, with all those stars around, she was only the 6th choice in the betting.
So maybe a bit less pressure on her being the underdog against him.
Maybe. But she certainly didn't run like an underdog. She ran with such guts, stuck right with Narita Bryan, tracked him the whole way around that 2,500 meters, stride for stride almost.
Wow. Really
Yeah.
challenged him directly.
Directly. Didn't back down an inch. The crowd was going wild. In the end, Narita Bryan just had a bit too much finishing power, pulled away by about 3 lengths. But Hishi Amazon was second and, importantly, well clear of the rest of that elite field.
Just 3 lanes behind a Triple Crown winner in the Arima Kinen as a 3-year-old filly.
It was considered, and still is, one of the greatest performances by a filly or mare in Japanese racing history. Period. It wasn't just a great run. It changed how people thought about what mares could do against the very best colts.
And she got the recognition for it, right? Named Best 3-Year-Old Filly for 1994.
Deservedly so. An incredible season capped by that courageous run. It wasn't just the wins, it was how she ran, that fearless attitude.
Yeah, that fierce quality really comes through. But things don't always go smoothly, even for champions. 1995, they had international plans. Sent her to America.
They did. High hopes for an international campaign, but it didn't work out. Injury struck before she even got to race over there. Just bad luck. Had to bring her back to Japan without competing.
Oh, that's tough. Must have been crushing for the team. And for a horse that thrives on racing, how hard is that recovery?
Devastating, really. Both physically and mentally for a competitor like her. It speaks volumes about her toughness that she came back at all. Her first race back was the Takamatsu no Miya High. She finished 5th.
And that 5th place, that ended her amazing streak, didn't it?
Yeah.
Of finishing 1st or 2nd.
Yeah. 12 consecutive top 2 finishes. An incredible record of consistency. Daiwa Scarlet matched it later, but still, remarkable.
But ending the streak didn't mean she was done. Not by a long shot.
Not at all. She bounced right back again. Classic Hishi Amazon. Went on to win the All-Comers and the Kyoto Daishoten later that year. And again, beating the colts in those races.
Just reminding everyone who was queen.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then came the Japan Cup later that year. Narita Bryan was struggling with injury. So Hishi Amazon really carried the hopes for Japan against the international runners.
How did she do?
Ran incredibly bravely, gave it everything, finished a really strong 2nd to the German horse, Lando, who was brilliant on the day.
Another huge effort on a big stage.
Yeah.
What about the Arima Kinen that year?
That one was tough. With Narita Bryan out, she was actually made the favorite. Huge public faith in her. But she just blew the start.
Yeah.
Completely missed the break. Lost vital ground immediately. Could only manage 5th in the end. Just one of those things, you know?
Ugh, brutal. Especially as the favorite, it really shows how much luck plays a part at that level, doesn't it? Split seconds matter.
Absolutely. Razor-thin margins. One tiny mistake, one bit of bad luck at the gate, and it changes everything. But even with those late-season disappointments, her overall year was still fantastic.
Right, and she was recognized for it again.
Yep. Named Best Older Filly Mare for 1995. That made it 3 years in a row winning a JRA award, which is incredibly rare. Speaks volumes about her sustained class and, well, her resilience.
3 years running at the top.
Yeah.
Amazing consistency. So what happened after that peak?
Well, she raced on in 1996, but her form started to, dip a little, which happens. She didn't run at all in 1997, and eventually a tendon injury, which is sadly common, led to her official retirement.
A well-deserved retirement after such a demanding career. And she became a broodmare.
She did. Spent time back in Japan breeding, and then later returned to Kentucky, where she was born. Her breeding career, though, was fairly quiet. Didn't produce any major stars, which often happens. Doesn't take away from her racing greatness, of course.
Not at all. Greatness on the track doesn't always pass on directly.
Exactly. But she lived a long, full life. She passed away peacefully on April 15th, 2019, back in Kentucky. Died of old age at 28, which is 90 in human years? A good long run for a true champion.
A dignified end. So looking back now, what's her lasting legacy? She feels like more than just a great racehorse.
Oh, definitely. She was a genuine trailblazer. Before her, you just didn't really see fillies consistently taking on the absolute best colts in the biggest races and, well, beating them or coming incredibly close. She didn't just win. She shattered expectations, showed that mares could have that same toughness, that will to win at the very highest level.
So she kind of opened the door, made connections more ambitious with their fillies later on?
I think so, yeah. Her career, especially that Arima Kinen run against Narita Bryan, really resonated. It remains one of the most admired performances by a mare in Japanese racing history. Because of the courage it shows, she was just fierce, fast, fearless, the queen who truly challenged the kings.
A perfect description. For anyone who saw her run, she must hold a special place, one of the all-time greats on the Japanese turf.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more. Check out our other videos for more stories you might enjoy.